Hello, everyone. Happy Earth Week. My name is Ingrid Paredes. I am the satellite director for March for Science, as well as a satellite organizer based in New York City. I'm super excited to keep the Earth Day programming going, Earth Week programming going with March for Science with all day long conversations about democracy. And what we're doing here today is highlighting satellite organizers from all around the globe. So if you've been tuning in with our conversations with the Philippines, New York City, Georgia, Poland, we're super excited to keep it going with now John Holmgreen, a satellite organizer based in Boston, Massachusetts. So thanks, John, for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm great. Yesterday on Earth Day, pretty much just, you know, joining in the festivities and just seeing what's going on online. I was checking out all sorts of organizations, but March for Science popping in every once in a while, checking out the YouTube.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know that you had a part to play in Boston's Earth Day festivities last night, right? How did that event go?
Yes, that event is called Earth Day Boston, and it started last year at the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. And it's a really big event where politicians, the Boston Symphony Orchestra was involved. You know, many different angles for celebrating the Earth coming together. I have what I like to talk about. Other people were involved who were talking about totally different things. So that was great, very diverse. And I had a little video in there where I pre-recorded a video of myself, and I threw some footage that I'd filmed myself over the years, just on my iPhone, just nature of various kinds. Threw that together, came out okay, and I said a few words about March for Science and the Planetary Society, which I've been volunteering for a few years now.
Yeah, I love that. A good friend of mine calls Earth Day as kind of like the gateway drug to environmentalism and organizing for a lot of folks. And I feel like it like showing the breadth of folks like that are involved with yesterday's event definitely like resonates. Like just having like the orchestra there, Planetary Society, March for Science, of course. And I feel like they're like our having our birthday during Earth Day is just like this perfect combination of like, we need to advocate for the earth, our home, climate solutions, but having these solutions like grounded in science and grounded in justice. So that's awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how did you tell me more about? I know you've been organizing with March for Science and Planetary Society. So Planetary Society for the last 5 years, and then March for Science for the last four since that initial March for Science like inaugural day back in
Sure.
2017. Yeah, so tell me more about your journey as a science advocate. How did you
Yeah.
decide to get involved?
Sure. Well, I have really no academic credentials to speak of. Just a little bit. I have some college experience. So I'm just a sort of, I guess I'm just really interested in studying astronomy just on my own, and then from this, just for over the last like decade or so, and just from just absorbing astronomy for that long, it kind of is this beautiful intersection of all the sciences you can think of. Name one, and it's going to somehow be involved in astronomy. So like chemistry, biology, meteorology, even things like, we don't think of it often, but things like psychology, uh, or, well, the list just goes on and on. So it's this, just because of that, I was like, okay, I'm developing an awareness that the world, we're all stuck on this big old rock together, and we need to get along. That's basically all I'm trying to say here. So, um, 2017 rolled around, and it seemed clear from certain things that we were seeing politically. Words like alternative facts were being spouted, and I was like, Uh, and then March for Science just kicked up, and I was like, well, I need to join. I have to go to this thing. So 2017, Boston Common, there were thousands of people. I mean, really, like it was a sea of people. There were kids, there were adults, there were every type of person was there, and I was so excited to see this sea of people. And I went there volunteering for the Planetary Society, which is a nonprofit created in 1980 by three people, but one of them being Carl Sagan. And all they do, I mean, their mission, right, is to excite the public to advance space science and exploration. So, I mean, I'm there, excited to be there in general, but I'm also handing out stickers and pamphlets and other things like that, just to let people know about that nonprofit. So, fast forward a couple of years, and I joined the March for Science 2018, and then in 19 I was doing the same thing, volunteering for the Planetary Society. This is pre-COVID, so I'm there with a table, handing stuff out, which was great. And I met Katie Blair, who was the organizer of the March for Science in Boston in 2019. So then the next year rolled around, and she asked me if I wanted to be involved and in just organizing the event, which was digital, of course. And I was really excited to do that. So we did that last year. It was a great success. And again, this year, we figured, I figured like, oh, well, new administration that's science conscious. Will we need a March for Science? And then as the Earth Day rolled around, it was like, well, we can just, in a sense, celebrate, and also remember that we're not done here. Like, there's always, it's not just about the current political administration. It is a global movement.
Yeah, so. Definitely. Yeah, I love, there's a couple of things that you brought up that I really love. The first thing is that, having an academic background is like by no means a prerequisite to advocating for science. It's been a running theme throughout the day, but I think like your love for space exploration and your time with the Planetary Society really speaks to what we really hope as scientists, all people feel, right? That there is a relationship to science that we should celebrate. And also that it's really about like, I use this phrase all the time about it being like a framework for solutions rather than just like a subject to study from like chemistry or physics. And whether we're, we've talked about it on the phone a bit. I don't study space. I study quite the opposite. I study nanoparticles, so on the size of atoms. Or we're talking about space. There's just so much room to play. And really there's a joy and a beauty in that. And I think that having you be an advocate for science is really inspirational in that way. And the other thing is like, you're exactly right that like, I think March for Science, it started as like this moment and it was just like catalyzed, right, by the election of the former president, which really made a lot of people have a political reckoning overall, but within the scientific community in particular, it was the first time that we really saw like this mass protest and call for the scientific community to speak up. And what we've seen, I think that was an example of like how overtly bad it can get. But it's not because that it was like the first time that scientists felt like science was neglected. It had been ongoing. And just as we're seeing with this administration, like they have made a commitment to listen to the scientists. And as you said, there's always more work to be done. Now it's about holding people who say they believe in science accountable for what they're saying. So I think it's awesome that you decided to, keep the ball rolling and answer the question in that way by showing up yesterday for Earth Day.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, this is just going to be, I think, something that I'll just be continuing to do each year. It's just a good time. Spring's rolling around. We can celebrate the literal Earth, like this world is as I said in this little video that I created for the Earth Day event, the world, the Earth is a true paradise amid the void. And I mean, really, there are so many things wrong with the world, and we're doing, humans are doing many things to sort of corrupt it. We're polluting it. We're ripping up cutting down trees. We're doing this and that. But still, the world is a paradise when you compare it to any other place. I mean, look out in every other direction, and you're not going to find a place as comfortable as this one. So I appreciate that every day. And I I just like to, I don't know, just get people excited by the fact that they can wake up and walk outside and breathe the air. This is and feel the sunshine. This is amazing. It
Exactly.
doesn't.
I think that's so important. And I think it goes right back to your point about like how there's always more work to do, that we have this beautiful home that we're so fortunate to, to be to have landed on. And now it's up to us to, really cherish it, care for it, and make sure that it's this way for everyone, that everyone has access to clean water, clean air, to celebrate Earth Day in those ways every day.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more about your work with Planetary Society. How do you get involved with them?
Well, so yeah, like I said, not too much in the academic sense, but when I turned 21, I read a book by Carl Sagan, and it was Billions and Billions, which is one of his last books he published before his death in 1996. I read this, and I basically just went from being like sort of apathetic about education to overnight just changing my mind and being like, oh, actually, education is the most important thing, and not just my own. Public education and specifically scientific literacy. And I was just, I turned into a different person, basically, and I'm still that person now. The years went by, and I became a member of the Planetary Society, and just kind of kept up on what they were up to. But then, March for Science rolled around, the first one, 2017, and I was just like,
let's do this.
I'm gonna just email them and say, hey, there's a big event in Boston. Would it be all right if you sent me a box of goodies to hand out? I will gladly do this. So that's how it all started, and I got connected with some people who run the Planetary Society, and so yeah, that's how it started, and it's been going ever since. And I'm very happy to it's not like it's not so much that I'm representing them. I'm just volunteering for them. That's how I think about it, and I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, and I think, every volunteer, right? It's about building, like, I think what's so cool about story, it's like this individual action that you took, like, I'm just going to read this book. And it became this like kind of like transformative moment that sparked, our conversation even here today in the long term, which is really awesome to see. And I think I lost my train of thought for a second. Part of the beauty is that you're reading like scientific literature and talking about scientific literacy, right? Is like how often scientific knowledge tends to be like gate kept and kept, it's like written in an accessible language, it's paywalled, it's written for other scientists rather than for the people.
Yeah.
But the work that, like Carl Sagan published, the work that Planetary Society, that March for Science through our panels, like Let's Get Vaccinated and Science Not Silence Forum, really hope to like kind of humanize and demystify science in that way, like cut down the walls and make it a conversation between people, whether it's like, on the page or like what we're doing right now.
Yeah, it's all about communication.
It's about communication. Exactly. Simple and succinct. Yeah. What advice would you give for folks who want to get involved with advocacy in one way or the other? I love the initiative that you took to join Planetary Society, and that how it steamrolled into March for Science. Mm-hmm. What encouragement would you give folks at home?
I mean, I have my interests, and they're pretty cosmic. Other people have their passions, like just talk about what you love and find people to do that with. And, that's my only advice. Just do what you love to do. I may not, have like my dream job, right? But I spend some of my own time to help promote these nonprofits, and I feel great about that. I feel like I'm not completely wasting my time here, and I think I do waste a lot of time, but not all of it. at the end of the day yesterday, I felt great. I mean, I got to say a few words about our beautiful planet, and hopefully I don't know. I mean, at the most, I hope it inspired someone to, I don't know, go out and just, like I said, just feel the fresh air, feel the sunshine. It's a beautiful world.
Exactly. I think that's great advice, and I think that reminds me of a quote that from Dr. Catherine Hayhoe, who is a climate scientist at Texas Tech, and she says, the most important thing you can do to fight climate change is talk about it. I think that's so true for so many things, right? You don't realize the connection that you might have with someone, and maybe you might think they're very different from you, but in a conversation you realize that you have a common thread that we can really, again, take our individual voices and then build collective action over time. Which brings me to my next point, which I know that you've been carrying the March for Science Boston flag very proudly and very maybe in a solo way for the last couple of years. I know that it's been difficult to organize, particularly with COVID. And one of the big things that we want to do over the next couple of months is really help organizers like yourself find each other. So if you would please let us know where we can find you online.
Yeah, sure.
Boston. Yeah.
So there is a Instagram account that I am the manager of as of now. And it is March for Science Boston, and that's just all with underscores in between. So March _, etc. March for Science Boston, and I just want to say one of my favorite things about this account that I'm obviously just kind of putting out the content that you would imagine I was, but I'm also last year and this year too, I go out of my way and kind of like search my own followers for artists.
Yeah.
And I'll message them and ask them if they're interested in creating original artwork to promote March for Science this year or last year, this year as well. And, some people get back to me and some people create some amazing content. So this year we had someone who creates collages, and she made a beautiful collage, and making a poster for March for Science. Another somebody else has some really great digital artwork with an earth in the middle and all sorts of amazing, just amazing imagery. And I'm happy to, I don't know, initiate the art. Like, I'm not making the art, but the art wouldn't exist if I didn't ask them to make it. So it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to get something, to help something get created, to be a catalyst for creation. So that's I would say visit March for Science Boston on Instagram, and then there's also a Facebook page. Now it's not officially March for Science, but it's called March for Science Boston area.
Is that a 4? Or like 4 like the word, or is it 4?
No, it is the word 4.
Got it.
So March for Science Boston area chapter, and that's just that's a place you can go if you're simply interested in science and how that can apply to the Boston area.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely be dropping the links and directing people this way. I've checked out the art on the Instagram page, and it really is lovely. I think it goes back to your point about communication as well, about using these different avenues and different communities, like the symphony orchestra, again, that took part in Earth Day, and bring them into the conversation about science. And that's really how we can humanize and push forward the conversation. So again, John, I'm really looking forward to working with you more and getting to see how March for Science Boston grows, hopefully in the next couple of months or over the course of the year. And I will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. And I'll definitely be seeing you next year.
Yes, definitely. Happy Earth Week.
You too.